everyone, it's Amy from Mother Goose Librarian. Today I was going to come to share with you two of the picture books that I mentioned in a previous video about some seasonal reads. And the first one I wanted to mention is The Little Ghost Who Was a Quilt. And this book is written by Riel Nason and illustrated by Byron Eggenschwiller. I think I'm saying that name correctly. In this book, we meet the little the little ghost who was a quilt, and he is just too heavy because he is a quilt and he has layers of fabric to keep up with the other ghosts. He's not able to soar up into the sky, and he can't twirl and whirl. He just falls. Doesn't work out well for him. Falls to the ground. Even though he's not able to hang around in the trees and pretend that he's a decoration like the other ghosts on Halloween. So even though his mother tells him that he should be proud of who he is because he has some ancestors, one of which was a red checkered tablecloth, and another ancestor, which was his great-grandmother, who was an elegant lace curtain, who everyone thought was beautiful. And that still didn't help the little ghost who was a quilt feel any better about himself. So he feels pretty bad about himself, and he's not too confident in who he is. And then on Halloween, which is his favorite time of year, he has a plan that he will hide amongst different things where he can be comfortable and see what's going on Halloween and see all the children who are dressed up, even though he can't be in a tree. For instance, last year he tried to hang on a clothesline, but that didn't really work out for him because he didn't have a good view. So he remembers an incident when he was in the park and he was on a park bench and a child globbed some ice cream on him. So he thought, I have a plan. I'm going to get really close as I can, and I will hang myself on a chair on a porch. But as a young girl and her mother approach trick-or-treating a house, he doesn't have time to get onto the chair and drape himself. So he hangs himself over a railing. And he doesn't know, but somehow the mother, who was dressed up also, asks the man at the door if she can, something in particular. And it turns out she asks him if she can use the quilt. So the little ghost is terrified and he doesn't know what's going to happen or how he's going to get away. So he ends up going with the little girl and her mother, but it's difficult to tell you too much more without giving too much away. But I will say one of my favorite lines from this book is a line that came at the end. Everything had happened for a reason. He was different. Just a little bit different. So that's one of my favorite lines from this book, and I hope that you'll check it out and find out what happens to the little ghost as he ends up going with the little girl and her mother on their trick-or-treating adventures, and find out if he's able to get away and what happens to him. So again, that was The Little Ghost Who Was a Quilt, and it was written by Riel Nason and illustrated by Byron Eggenschwiller. The second book that I have to talk to you about that is a perfect read for this new spooky season. And this book, The Little Ghost Who Was a Quilt, was published in 2020. And this next one, Gustavo the Shy Ghost, was published just this year. It's a new release within the last couple months. And this book is by Flavia Drago. She did both the illustrations and the text of the story. So as you can tell probably by the title, Gustavo is a very shy ghost, and he has a difficult time making friends, and because he is so shy. But he realizes that as he attempts to try to make friends, that no one is able to see him. None of the other ghosts or monsters can see him. So he decides that he will do his best to be seen and really seen. So I feel as if that's more you know, that has layers to it, that statement, when he wants to be seen. And that was one of my favorite quotes from this book as well. And he says, Gustavo says, I have to be brave. I have to let the others see me. And I think that he is talking about being seen, not only physically being seen and being able to be visible, but also to do what he truly loves and to be himself, which he does decide to do. He decides to write a letter to the other monsters and ghosts to ask them if they would like to attend his recital of playing his violin, because playing violin brings him joy and happiness. So he worries once the night of the recital comes that no one will show up. Well, I'm not going to tell you if they show up or not. You're going to have to read to find out what happens to Gustavo as he attempts to be seen. I believe that you probably, if you watched my previous video on my picture book TBR, you might have seen me reveal the case cover underneath the jacket. And I just love that you can see Gustavo here in his ghostly form. And I forgot to mention to you, the artwork for this particular book was done in mixed media. So a variety of different kinds of media was used to create the illustrations or the artwork for Gustavo the Shy Ghost. Unfortunately, in the fine print in the front of the book, it does not mention what the little ghost who was a quilt was done in. So I'm not exactly sure what the artwork was made in, but I do just love the artwork. It's very much done in black and white and grays and those different hues, and an occasional pop of color that you can see. Sometimes the pop of color may be very small, such as here in this particular illustration, or it may be a larger pop of color, such as when we saw Gustavo thinking about, the little ghost who was a quilt, thinking about his favorite time of year, which was Halloween. As you can see, this large pumpkin in the large pop of color here. So I hope that you'll check out Gustavo the Shy Ghost by Flavia Drago, or The Little Ghost Who Was a Quilt, who was written by Real Nason and illustrated by Byron Egglesweiler. So happy reading and happy Halloween.